Good afternoon, and welcome to the Mazdak broadcast. We have a special program prepared for you this afternoon as we focus on Black history. This moment in Black history, we are looking at the theme of a rise to success, and we're looking at those men and women, Black men and women who rose to success in Camden, New Jersey. And so we are believing that this is going to be a time of reflection that's going to be inspiring and motivating and encouraging. We're going to have a wonderful program this evening and this afternoon. And I want to thank Judge Ingrid French and the team that put this program together. Prepare yourselves because we're going to look at Black history in a very special way this afternoon. Will you bow your heads and pray with me? Father in heaven, in the name of Jesus, we thank you for your amazing grace, which have been bestowed upon us as a people. We're thankful, Lord, on how you spoke to the spirits and hearts of men and women in Camden, New Jersey, who responded to your call to rise up and to achieve what may have appeared to some to be impossible. But they stand before us today as witnesses that anything is possible for those who are children of God. And so we pray now that you will inspire us and encourage us, God, Lord, cause something within us after this program to say, I can do it too. Bless us now, we pray. For we ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen, amen, amen. God bless you, and welcome to the Black History Program. Rise to success. Amen.
In 1727, slave traders regularly began ferrying enslaved Africans to the Camden docks. Most of those slaves arrived on crowded ships owned by the slave-owning Cooper family. The slaves were sold at 3 primary auction sites, which now have historical markers in downtown Camden. Slaves were sold to South Jersey farmers, while others were sold in Philadelphia. By the late 1800s, Camden was a bustling city with a busy port for transporting goods along the Delaware River and some of the Northeast Coast's most profitable manufacturers. When slavery ended, African Americans migrated from the South to Camden, where jobs were plentiful. Camden Iron Works, Campbell's Soup Company, New York Shipbuilding, and the J.B. Van Sciver Furniture Company were 4 of the larger employers headquartered in Camden. Then, in 1901, the Talking Machine Company, which later became RCA Victor, was founded, and Camden became the place where the first jazz and blues records were recorded in the country. All of these companies paid good wages to hardworking African Americans, regardless of education, and as a result, Camden had a vibrant and diverse working class population. In 1893, Dr. Howard Emmett Primus Sr. was born in Camden. After attending Camden public schools and graduating from Camden Manual Training and High School, Dr. Primus graduated from Howard University in 1914 and Howard University Medical School in 1918. After interning for 1 year at the Freedmen's Hospital in Washington, D.C., Dr. Primus returned to Camden and established a general medical practice. From 1919 until his death in 1956, Dr. Primus was the primary care physician for most of Camden's Black population. In those days, most white doctors didn't want to serve the Black population. He became known as a doctor who would attend to your medical emergency in exchange for a homemade sweet potato pie or a good chicken wing dinner. During Dr. Primus's lifetime, he was always concerned about the plight of Camden's African American community. In addition to becoming the first Black staff doctor at West Jersey Hospital, Dr. Primus took leadership positions in support of the expansion of Camden's public housing projects and in Camden's public schools. In 1955, another Black doctor, Dr. Charles Brem, was finishing medical school in Canada, and he too returned to his hometown of Camden to serve as a primary care physician for Camden's predominantly African American community. Dr. Brem, like Dr. Primus, was civic-minded and continued a tradition of Camden having Black doctors who were not afraid to get involved in advocating for economically depressed residents of Camden. Shortly after the end of the Second Industrial Revolution, Camden's industries were expanding into the suburbs. However, Camden experienced a significant loss of its population throughout the 1950s. Then, when the Cherry Hill Mall opened in 1961 and became the first indoor climate-controlled shopping center east of the Mississippi River, Camden could no longer attract retail shoppers. Camden also experienced two major race-related riots in response to police brutality. In 1969, a young black woman was brutally beaten by a white police officer, and in 1971, an unarmed Puerto Rican motorist was killed by a white police officer. Both riots were deadly and destructive, and by the end of 1971, Camden had transitioned from being a mecca of ethnic and working class diversity to being 53% African American. Two relatives of Dr. Primus also made their mark on the city of Camden. In 1978, Theodore Primus became the city's first black fire chief, and in 1981, Melvin Randolph "Randy" Primus became Camden's first black mayor. The drug epidemic in America hit Camden's African American residents very hard, and the city has continued to struggle with a high unemployment rate, a high crime rate, and underfunded schools. Today, Camden is home to the region's #1 trauma hospital, Cooper University Hospital. Rutgers University also has a campus in the city. Cooper University Hospital and Rutgers University provide 48% of the employment opportunities in Camden. This year, as a result of the pandemic, we are recognizing the many ordinary people without fancy titles who are on the front lines in the medical profession doing extraordinary work. African American nurses and other direct care providers work tirelessly in our hospitals. Here at MOSDAC, we want to celebrate one of our very own Camden residents who had an important but little-known job at Cooper University Hospital. The late Karen Broadley, a native of Camden, had an extraordinary career in the medical profession.
Late Karen E. Miller Boyley was born at Cooper Hospital in Camden in November of 1967 and will ultimately leave a legacy of her spirituality in the same hospital. After graduating from Woodrow Wilson High School, Karen earned an associate science degree from Camden County College and became a certified surgical technologist, specializing in vascular surgery through additional studies at University of Medicine and Dentistry of New Jersey. Her excellence in academics and her skills landed her dream job at Johns Hopkins Hospital in Baltimore. While working at Johns Hopkins, Karen earned several certificates of recognition of her outstanding service, and she was honored with opportunity to work in the operating room with world-known Dr. Ben Carson, the African-American neurosurgeon who was the director of pediatric neurosurgery at Johns Hopkins at the time. Karen returned to Camden and landed yet another prestigious job at University of Pennsylvania Hospital in Philadelphia. At Penn, Karen's excellent skills earned her opportunity to work alongside yet another well-known neurosurgeon, Dr. Jeffrey Carpenter. And Dr. Carpenter was offered an opportunity to become chief of surgery at Cooper Hospital, the region's #1 trauma hospital. He left Penn, but he requested that Karen Boyley be hired at Cooper to become a member of his vascular surgery team. Karen worked for more than 20 years as a certified surgical assistant in the operating rooms from hospitals far and near. The meeting got for presence in the operating room was lauded by Dr. Carpenter when he came to her funeral service at Mount Olive to let us all know what a spiritual asset he had been in his operating rooms at Penn and Cooper Hospital. Karen's life work in the operating rooms was an avenue of ministry, expression of her relationship to God in honor of her memory. In this year's Black History Month program, it is our hope that everyone watching or listening today seeks to find the work where their skills and God-given interests intersects with the needs of the world. We love you, Nana.
When famous jazz and blues artists came to record at RCA, they'd often hang out in South Jersey. For almost half a century, beginning in the 1930s, Evesham Road was a corridor of social clubs and speakeasies where African Americans could dress up, enjoy good music, soulful fine dining, and soft drinks. While Lawnside was the true genesis of black entertainment with the larger clubs like Dreamland Cafe and the Cotton Club, it was not uncommon to see artists like Sarah Vaughan or Nancy Wilson enjoying the music and good eats at Rudy and Chinks on 7th and Kane in Camden. On February 8, 1929, Thomas Wright Fats Waller, one of the most popular pianists and organists of his era, recorded both of his famous hits that were featured in Broadway plays in Camden. Ain't Misbehavin' for the play by the same name, and What I Do to Be So Black and Blue, which became a hit for Ethel Waters and Louis Armstrong in the play Hot Chocolate. Over the course of his association with RCA Victor, Fats Waller recorded more than 15 of his songs at RCA Victor in Camden. Camden has also been home of numerous musicians, vocalists, and entertainers in general. Far too many to name them all. Ironically, 3 notable music greats were all born in Camden in 1942. Leon Huff, Buster Williams, and Lola Falana. Leon Huff, part of the Gamble and Huff songwriting team for Philadelphia International Records, and owner, was born in Camden on April 8, 1942. Huff was first exposed to music through his mother, who played the piano and the organ for the 19th Street Baptist Church Choir. Charles Anthony Buster Williams, the popular jazz bass player, was born on April 17, 1942 in Camden. He is most known for his membership in pianist Herbie Hancock's early 1970s group, working with the guitarist Larry Coryell, and in the Thelonious Monk Repertory Band. He has accompanied hundreds of artists over the years. Lola Falana was born in September of 1942 and was one of the most accomplished African American actresses, entertainers of her time. She made her Broadway debut in 1964 production of Golden Boy and dropped her first single. A year later, she made her big screen debut in A Man Called Adam alongside Sammy Davis Jr. and Cicely Tyson. Falana earned her first Golden Globe nomination in a 1970s movie, The Liberation of L.B. James, and you may remember her for her appearances on The Cosby Show and The Muppet Show. She took her performances to Vegas, where she performed in front of dozens of sold-out crowds alongside the Vegas Strip. Falana became Vegas's top-paid female performer during the late 70s. Singers Carla Benson, Barbara Ingram, and Yvette Benton of the famous Sweethearts, and also Tyrone Ty Tribbett, the popular gospel music singer, songwriter, and keyboardist, were all born and raised in Camden and graduates of Camden and Woodrow Wilson High Schools. The Sweethearts were best known for performing background vocals for Leon Huff's Philadelphia International Records and Sigma Sound Studios, where they did all of the background vocals for the Spinners, the Stylistics, Teddy Pendergrass, Lou Rawls, and hundreds of other successful disco acts. As the disco era came to a close, Miss Benson continued to perform locally. She won roles in several off-Broadway musicals, most notable playing Effie in Dreamgirls. When Miss Benson stopped touring as much, she continued her education, graduating from the Technical Institute of New Jersey in Pennsauken with a paralegal certificate and Glassboro State College with a Bachelor of Arts in Vocal Music. Miss Benson was a featured performer in the 2002 award-winning documentary Standing in the Shadows of Motown, which went on to win 3 Grammy Awards. Carla Benson never left Camden. In addition to teaching high school vocal music at her alma mater, Camden High, and giving private vocal lessons whenever she can, Miss Benson is currently making plans to launch her creative arts activity program called Awakenings for high school students. We present next Camden's special sweetheart, Miss Carla Benson, who still lives right here in Camden and may be the most recorded vocal artist of all time.
How you doing? My name is Carla Benson. I was born and raised and educated and still reside in Camden, New Jersey. And I am the most recorded female in the history of the business. Look at God. However, what I am first and foremost is a Christian, a child of God, and a work in progress. I don't remember ever not singing. I'm told as a toddler, barely able to speak, I would freeze whenever a musical commercial came on and try to sing along. My mother, realizing I was going to sing and being an educator herself, decided that since it was clear I would be a singer, then I had to learn how to sing properly. I began private voice lessons at age 12, and by age 15, I was performing full operatic arias in Italian, French, and German at Camden High School, where I graduated in... never mind. From there, I entered Rowan University in Glassboro, New Jersey as a vocal music major, but God. I thank God daily that He had other plans for my life. In my second semester as a freshman, my first cousin, Barbara Ingram, approached me about forming a group to sing for this new record company that was forming, which turned out to be Philadelphia International Records, which was started by Kenny Gamble, Tom Bell, and Leon Huff, who was also a Camden native. She asked if I knew a third girl we could ask, and my best friend, Yvette Benton, who was also my college roommate, was sitting right there. And without her permission, I volunteered her services. Barbara and Yvette were also born and raised in Camden. We came together and became the principal background recording vocalist for Philadelphia International for over 9 years. We did all the background for Billy Paul, that's us on Me and Mrs. Jones, The Spinners, I'll Be Around, Rubber Band Man, Sadie, One of a Kind, Mighty Love, all of them. Everything stylistics, we did Johnny Mathis, Teddy Pendergrass, Gene Carn, Lou Rawls, the You'll Never Find Is Us, Archie Bell and the Drells, Melba Moore, and anybody that came through Philadelphia International. There was only one artist we ever toured and recorded exclusively for, and that was Patti LaBelle. That's us on If Only You Knew, on my own, and many others. I got the title of most recorded because when our time with Patti was over, Yvette left the business, and sadly in 1994 we lost Barbara. But I kept singing. I had to. I recorded with jazz artists like Michael Pedersen and Larry Carlton and many others. I'm the section leader and featured performer in the award-winning documentary Standing in the Shadows of Motown. If you haven't seen it, you should. It's a good piece. My advice to aspiring performers is to be prepared. Know your craft. I can read music and I can act. So when the door opened to me, I was prepared to step in. The music business and entertainment industry as a whole is a dirty business. There will be many opportunities to betray yourself, your parents, your home training, and God Himself. don't do it. I was approached with the opportunity to work the front line and be a star, but I would have had to play the game and pay that price, and I was not willing to do that. I had sons, and I needed to be able to look them squarely in the face and defend whatever I did or whatever they heard I did. I have not one moment of regret, and I sleep well at night. The love of money truly is the source of all evil. Money will help, but it won't make you happy, and fame is a trap. From my vantage point as a background singer, I know what all those stars really have to go through when they're not on that stage. I never wanted fame. I only wanted to sing. Now I sing mostly at my church, Sword of the Spirit Christian Center in Camden, on Sunday mornings or virtually, since we're all virtual now. I'm a music teacher and a substitute in the high schools in Camden, and I'm also a certified spiritual counselor. I spend my time now reaching out to our young people in the inner cities and helping them find their way to God, and it's my pleasure to do so. The voice you're about to hear is one of my recordings, and will also show you some of my plaques and awards. Keep hope alive. Vote. Do the right thing. Stay safe. Deuces.
I pray you'll be alright and watch us where we go and help us to be wise in times when we don't know, let this be our prayer. When we lose our way, lead us to a place, guide us with your grace, to a place where we'll be safe.
Born of the ground, born of the ground, and formed and filled with your spirit, filled with your spirit, heir of a king, born of a man, a queen from birth. I was born of a man, designed for royalty's hand, my life too full to see reality. Just a word, a simple word, could change my life forevermore. Just a word, a single word, could change my life forevermore. Words whispered to me, I felt the urge to hear them breathe. Truth, I knew the truth, I knew the rule, and still I turned away from you. I was born of a man, designed to live in your plan. My eyes chose only to see, just for me. Just a word, a simple word, could change my life forevermore. Just a word, a single word will change my life forevermore. Lord, have mercy on me. My Lord, I know I fell naked and wrong. I'm at your feet. Grace, cover my shame, cover my wrong, and bless the man you gave to me. I know things must change, but your love will remain. My heart is open to your voice. Just a word, a simple word could change my life forevermore. A single word, just a word could change my life forevermore. Oh, I will listen to what you say, no matter what may come my way. I believe, yeah. Just a word, a single word could change my life forevermore. Just a word, a single word could change my life forevermore, 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 forevermore.
753 Walnut Street. In June of 1950, while Martin Luther King was attending Crozier Seminary in Upland, Pennsylvania, he would visit a friend in Camden. One night, he and his friends went to a tavern in Maple Shade, and they were refused service at the restaurant. MLK and his friends sat at the restaurant until the police came, and the man who refused them service was arrested. For the police report, Martin Luther King gave 753 Walnut Street in Camden as his residence. The man who had refused them service was arrested for 1. Refusal to serve a customer, 2. Intimidation by weapon, and 3. Obscene language. An attempt to get the house placed on the New Jersey's Register of Historic Places was recently lost and is now on appeal. Macedonia AME Church, located at 261 Spruce Street, was established in 1832. We now call it South Camden, but it was called Feddersville in the 1830s. Macedonia AME Church is the oldest black institution in Camden. In 1840, when Reverend Thompson Clement Oliver became the second pastor of Macedonia, the church, under his leadership, became New Jersey's most southern station on the Underground Railroad. Pastor Oliver helped hundreds of runaway slaves to get closer to freedom. In 1848, Dempsey Butler, a black contractor from Virginia, moved to Camden and established a successful real estate and contractor business. He built and sold homes to African Americans, building up the Feddersville and Caneville section of Camden. By 1860, the black population in Camden was the largest in South Jersey at 778. There are 3 slave block auction markers in Camden. 1, the corner of Federal and Delaware. 2, outside the Walt Whitman Center. And 3, Cooper Point Park. Mr. Butler established the Butler Cemetery, located at Ferry Avenue and Charles Street, at the resting place of local U.S. colored troop veterans of the Civil War, as well as other African Americans. The Butler Cemetery is another one of Camden's important African American historical sites. African slavery in New Jersey began with early European settlement. By 1766, circa 800 captive people have been sold here at the Cooper Street Ferry and 2 other nearby ferry landings. In Africa, approximately 24 million captured men, women, and children marched to coastal prisons. Only half survived the journey. These 12 million survivors then endured deplorable conditions on the Middle Passage ocean crossings, where an additional 2 million died from disease, malnutrition, dehydration, drowning, suicide, and abuse. By 1800, New Jersey's enslaved African population exceeded 12,000. New Jersey was the last northern state to emancipate, adopting gradual abolition in 1804 and finally ratifying the 13th Amendment on January 23, 1866.
In the 1920s, Camden emerged as a center of the African American music scene in South Jersey. It was best known for cabaret dance halls like Bob Carroll's Cabaret on 3rd and Cherry Street and the Convention Center on Haddon and Mickle Avenues. And some of the best big bands of the era, like Count Basie and Duke Ellington, all played at the Stanley Theater on Market Street in Camden. Live music venues for dancing then gave way to the jukeboxes of the 50s, and Camden could no longer compete with Lawnside, Atlantic City, and Philadelphia as a draw for live big band entertainers. But the film, arts, and entertainment industry has always been centered in New York City and Los Angeles County, California. So no matter where you lived in the U.S., if you dreamt of being an actor or an actress or seeing your name scroll across the big screen, you were either dreaming of Broadway in New York City or Hollywood and L.A. Ricardo Kahn was raised in Camden, and during his last year in high school, it was a class trip to NYC to see the all-black cast of Hello, Dolly that inspired his interest in acting. After graduating from Rutgers University with a minor in theater, Mr. Kahn went on to become a writer and a Tony Award-winning artistic director. Mr. Kahn made his mark in history by co-founding the Crossroads Theater Company in New Brunswick, New Jersey, one of only a handful of African American theaters to rise to national prominence. In 1999, the Crossroads Theater became the first Black theater ever to receive the Tony Award for Outstanding Regional Theater in America. Our next two history makers are Tasha and Sidra Smith. They were not just born and raised in Camden, but they are a part of Mount Olivet's very own extended family, our beloved Archie family. These two extraordinarily talented Black women were born to Monique Archie on February 28, 1971, and they have both rocked the film, arts, and entertainment industry. Sidra started her career casting music videos for Dr. Dre, and she founded her own casting company shortly after casting for her first feature film. Early in her career, she produced A Love Tale, and her more recent work includes producing the award-winning documentary Free Angela and All Political Prisoners. Today, Sidra is known as the Smith sister who sports the bold and beautiful bald head, a film producer, screenwriter, and casting director. Tasha is a renowned actress who landed her first big screen role in the NBC comedy series Boston Common. And since then, she had played numerous roles in movies and television series. Most of us recognize her for roles in Empire, Power, and in multiple Tyler Perry projects. Today, the list of movies that Tasha has starred and co-starred in is too long to mention here. In 2015, Tasha made her directing debut with a short film entitled Boxed In. Both sisters exhibited an early sign of courage and self-confidence by venturing far from their home in Camden when they were only 19 years old. Tasha moved to California and Sidra moved to Paris and landed a modeling gig in Italy. Today, Sidra lives in Harlem and Tasha lives in California. Their extraordinary talent is evident in the fact that they both made it in directing and producing in the film industry, a place where women of color are nearly invisible. Film directing and production are dominated by men, 96% male and 86% white. Mount Olivet can indeed be proud of the fact that they have been part of the village that raised Monique, their mother, and Miss Sidra and Miss Tasha Smith.
Hi, my name is Sidra Smith and I'm from Camden, New Jersey. As you may know, I have an identical twin sister named Tasha Smith, and she's an actress, director, and I'm a producer. We grew up in the whole Six and Line area of Camden, and we also went to Mount Olivet Seventh-day Adventist Church. And one of my fondest memories about Mount Olivet is being a Pathfinder and going to my family's house on 6th and Line and eating after church. One of the things that I'm grateful for is just being put on everybody's prayer list, because if it wasn't for all those prayers, I mean, God knows where I would be, because growing up in Camden, it wasn't easy. But the other thing that I feel really saved me were my dreams. And, you know, I always let people know that your dreams are a preview of your future. And so that's why it's so important to dream. My most current project is an amazing film that is currently on Amazon Prime Video called Sylvie's Love. And Sylvie's Love is a beautiful Black love story that takes place in Harlem, where I currently live. And we actually were just nominated for 5 NAACP Image Awards. And I'm so grateful to be a part of this particular project, because it represents Black love and Black beauty and Black people in such a positive way. And one of the things that I said about my career is to always do projects that really represent Black people well and that really represent Black women well. Another project that I had the opportunity to be a part of is a movie called Free Angela and Off Political Prisoners, which is a documentary on Angela Davis. And I actually won an NAACP award for that documentary. And I had, you know, the opportunity of spending a lot of time with Angela Davis, and spending so much time with her also made me realize the importance of documentary filmmaking. You know, the work that I do, I feel that when people look at this work 100 years from now, 1,000 years from now, they're going to see how us as Black people are being, you know, represented. And I pray that 100 years from now, 1,000 years from now, that they will honor some of the work that I've done during Black History Month. The thing that keeps me motivated is traveling and meeting different people from different cultures and different communities. I had the opportunity of living in Ghana, West Africa, for 2 years, where I did documentaries on multinationals doing business in West Africa. And until I had that experience, I didn't realize how big the world was and how different the world was when it comes to food, when it comes to culture, when it comes to clothes. But I'm so inspired when I travel. And the thing that I want to inspire other young people to do, especially young people of color, because we don't have a lot of opportunity to travel, is to travel. Like, open a map, look on that map, pick a place and go. Just go. It's like the world is so big. We can really do whatever we want. We can do it. And experiencing different cultures and different foods in different countries and communities has just always been so inspiring to me. What is success to me? Success is setting a goal and accomplishing it, period. Set a goal for yourself and do everything you can to accomplish that goal. That's what success is to me. One of the things that I believe is that challenges are good. And whenever I'm challenged in life or during a project, the thing that I work hard to do is overcome that challenge and then overcome that challenge higher than that. overcome that challenge, and then overcome that challenge higher than that. Reach high and then reach higher than that. What does that look like? Set a goal and then set a goal higher than that. Make yourself one of those people that we celebrate during Black History Month. What is it that you can do in your life today to be one of those people that we celebrate during Black History Month? I'm a girl from Camden, New Jersey, raised by a single mother. Never met my father, don't know who he is, but it's okay. I had an amazing family and a community that gave me a lot of strength and inspiration and encouragement, as well as friends and extended family. And I made my dreams a reality. And you can do the same thing too. And I'm a perfect example of that. I had an opportunity to live in Italy, in London, in France, in Africa, now New York, and I'm excited to see what the world has to bring, and make your dreams a reality. I'm a perfect example of that. Thank you so much. I'm Sidra Smith, and I'm from Camden, New Jersey.
Were emerged in the late 19th century, blacks were completely excluded, and so African Americans organized their own professional and semi-pro teams. Black baseball in South Jersey was dominated by the Atlantic City Baccarat Giants, but several unofficial sandlot leagues had emerged by the 1930s. In Camden Fields on Broadway and Everett Street, 9th and Van Hook, and Dudley Garage were the center of baseball. Camden had local Negro Leagues clubs like the Black Giants, the Dunbars, the Clowns, the Foggy Bottom Zulus, and the 10th Street Braves. Camden's teams played throughout South Jersey, but when Little Leagues and Babe Ruth Leagues integrated in the 50s and the 60s, most of the Sandlot teams ended. Camden High School have trained too many professional athletes to name all here. John Brown, John Chandler, George Hageman, Reggie Lawrence, Art Sill, Billy Thomas, DeJohn and Milt Wagner, and Charles Payton. Just a few of many names who played in the National Football and Basketball Leagues. One of the athletes associated with Camden's legacy of the greats was Arnold Raymond Cream, best known as Jersey Joe Walcott. Jersey Joe Walcott was a professional boxer, competed from 1930 to 1953. He held the world heavyweight title from 1951 to 1952 and broke the record, the oldest man to win a title, at the age of 37. When Jersey Joe was in middle school, his father died, and he had to drop out of school to help his mother feed 11 kids. He got a job at Campbell's Soup Kitchen, but he started boxing in order to make extra money. He trained at Battling Mike's Gym in Camden and was regarded among the best heavyweight in the world during the 1940s and 1950s. Jersey Joe was considered Camden's Rocky, and a statue is being shaped and placed in Wiggins Park in 2021. After retiring from boxing, Jersey Joe became the first African American to be elected at the position of sheriff of Camden County in 1971. After serving one term in Camden County Sheriff, he became a chairman of the New Jersey's Athletic Commission, a position he held till 1988.
My name is Mateo Jones. I'm here to talk about Michael T. Rozier. Michael T. Rozier was born and raised in Camden. He was a sprinter and running back for Woodrow Wilson High School, and in the late 70s, he smashed countless school records. Despite his gridiron heroics, Mike's failing grades in high school prevented him from being recruited to play college football. He moved to Kansas and attended Coffeyville Junior College and got serious about his academics. While he was at Coffeyville, Mike played American football, and he helped his team gain a 9-0 season lead. Scoring 10 touchdowns for himself, Mike was finally recruited to play at the University of Nebraska, and he won himself a Heisman Trophy in 1983. After he graduated college, he played professionally for Pittsburgh Maulers and the Jacksonville Bulls, the USFL, and the Houston Oilers and Atlanta Falcons of the NFL. In the 7th NFL season, Rozier had 1159 catches. He had 4,462 yards and 30 touchdowns and caught 90 passes for 715 yards. The numbers of the athletes who were recruited from Camden High schools is a testament to both their coaching staff and their commitment and diligence of the teachers and guidance counseling staff. Stories like Mike Rozier underline the importance of academics even when the students had exceptional talent. The work ethic that is required in sports is a benefit in the work environment of our next featured star, and is an example of the success that can come from applying the work ethic to the career after playing sports. He is Guy Rozier, Mike's brother. Guy Rozier played both football and baseball, but he was recruited by the University of Nebraska, and he played baseball. He and his brother Mike always planned to go to the same college. Following his graduation from the University of Nebraska in 1986, Mr. Rozier went to work at the Paramount Pictures, where he worked for Entertainment Tonight, Eddie Murphy Television, and he's an example of fine. what made me cry. A fine, not just fine, incredible black excellence.
Hi everybody, my name is Guy Rozier. I'm a lead supervisor at Camden County Highway and Parks Department. I too am from Camden, New Jersey. Graduated from Woodrow Wilson in 1981 and just moved back to New Jersey 5 years ago. Now I'm in charge of a lot of different things in your community. At one time I sat in a chair just like you did, wondering what I was going to be in life. But let me tell you a little story. Worth ethics is the most important thing that you have. A good name is better to have than all the money in the world, my mom still tells me at 90 years old. So when you apply yourself to do something, don't ever give up, don't ever quit. And don't let anyone tell you you can't be what you want to be. You're going to fall sometimes in life, but pick yourself right back up and go back at it again. The key to success is to fail. If you don't fail, you don't learn. So don't be afraid to fail. There are things in life that are going to change you as a person. Be a chameleon. Learn how to adapt. Be a team player, because it's not always about you. It's about the person next to you and the person behind you that you're opening up a path for to get to the next level that you're going to be getting to one day in life. I'm looking forward to seeing you one day make something big of yourself. Represent Camden, represent your school, represent your church most importantly. The last thing I want to tell you is believe in God. No matter what you do in life, you can do nothing, absolutely nothing without Him. So praise Him every chance you get. Thank Him for everything that you have. Thank Him for the things you don't have, but He's about to prepare you for that you're not even aware of. Stay faithful, stay hopeful, take care of your family, take care of yourselves. One day you'll get to where I am and even beyond where I've been. I've done a lot of great things for a lot of great people. Worked in Hollywood, worked for the Olympics, traveled the world, and don't ask me how I did it. It was God's hand in everything. So no matter where I got to, no matter how I got there, no matter how fast or how slow it made me get to being the person that I am today, just believe that if you stay faithful, you stay a teammate, you stay a chameleon, you adapt to everything and anything, you'll be what you want to be in life. Don't quit. Keep the faith. Stay strong. And wear your mask and protect everybody around you as well as your family, especially yourself. Keep up the great work. We're proud of you as Camdenites. And we're proud of you as young kids going to school. Get your diploma, get your degree, keep fighting the fight.
The next young man was raised by a single black woman who was both loving and God-fearing. She gave him a good foundation, but his drive to be successful in business needed guidance in the right direction. In the year of 2006, he met a strong black male historian who became his mentor, taught him his history, showed him the importance of education, and provided a system that helped him transform his life. As a result of that mentorship, this young man was able to turn some of his biggest dreams into reality. Today, Terrell J. Brown is the Chief Investment Officer of non-bank lending at Loyalty Alliance Incorporated. Mr. Brown provides customized asset-based lending solutions to U.S. government contractors and allocates capital to financial institutions. Terrell literally went from the mean streets of Camden to Wall Street.
My name is Terrell Brown. Grew up in Camden. I ended up going to King Avenue Baptist Church when right after high school, Reverend Britt Stardew was a great minister. Rest in peace to Reverend Stardew, who ended up passing away a few years ago. Great man, and that's why I really kind of honed in some of my skills and understood the importance of religion and really the Lord and how that can transform your life. But having a great minister helps that, and you get to see a role model in the community, being in the community, active, etc. But it started long before Kane Avenue with my grandmother as well as my mother. And we were in and out of church just growing up here in Camden, coming from humble beginnings. But they gave, or they instilled really in my family the basic fundamentals, I would say, being a good person, hard work, education, support, taking care, looking after one another. And it's just due to really unfortunate circumstances in life, we weren't able to go to church consistently. And that's what I would really say. But if you're looking to transform your life, you definitely need the Lord in it, and to continue to achieve and be successful. Right now, we outside of Cousins, kind of where things really started, just the entrepreneurial bug. We used to pack bags right here, so a lot of people, they would, come with their groceries, and we would stand out here and help them to their car and pack their bags. So you might see a shopping cart come out, and we just stand out there. And sometimes, the police, they will say that you can't be here, harassing people. So I might have been maybe 10, 11 at that time, and just being out here would help me kind of make some money, save money. And then what you'll see, there was a lot of hacks out here, and a hack is really just the modern day version of Uber. So people would go with a lot of their bags, and people would say, hey, do you need a ride home? And they would charge whatever, $5 to $7. But a lot of those people, some of them went, others didn't. But when I talk to entrepreneurs today, I tell them, you want to be, Uber, Lyft, or you want to be a hack. And the difference is really, several $1 billion. But that entrepreneur, which he or she was, when they were driving that hack, they never put their business plan together, never figured out a system. So if you're an entrepreneur, you want to understand that, really put a business plan together, put your system, take that time to be able to do so. But this is really one of the first places where I spent a lot of time packing bags and things like that. So this is where I grew up at, right around Henderson Stocking Station. People know it as Pleasant Garden. But none of this was here at the time. These were apartments. Across, you'll see the Randall Cunningham Center where we used to play basketball. But really during this time, you spent just a lot of time. My mom was working two jobs, and at a young age, we were maybe 11, 12, just during the summer, spending night, really partying and messing around, fooling around with girls. And really towards high school, you start thinking more about, making money and things like that, and figuring out how you're going to do that. And most of the entrepreneurs were drug dealers, and they didn't really have outlets here in Camden, so you don't really see business owners and things like that. So they were forced to kind of go into the streets. And so when I really started making money, at that point maybe 17, around $3,000 a day, it was mainly because you want to change your life from with the situation that you're currently in, and you have to figure out a way how to do that. But when I actually made the transition from really doing some of the stuff I was doing to what I'm doing now, and being able to work on Wall Street, is really because being grounded in a lower one, having the self-confidence, and was able to get a mentor in my life that helped really provide a historical perspective and taught me more about life. And from there, I put the hard work into it, and then was truly being able to make a transition to now take some of those natural abilities that I've always had to go do what I'm going down on Wall Street.
Hello, beautiful church family. This is Cassie Freeman. If you do not know, and I am a senior at Andrews University in Berrien Springs, Michigan. I'm in my third year of architecture, and I've just come back from abroad where I studied Spanish in Argentina. And my goal was to become a Black female architect, licensed architect, owning my own firm where I could design, specializing in handicap architecture, designing hotels and plazas, and especially touristy spots where it definitely needs to be renovated and done in a way that is more inviting to the disabled and the handicapped, especially wheelchair accessibility. So while developing and being in architecture school and being exposed to the intricacies of the career and all that it entails, I've decided to continue and graduate with my master's in architecture. However, I'm taking the interior design route where I can really get into the details of the interiors down to the accessories in a home or in a space that caters to handicap accessible like spaces and developments. And so I plan to be bilingual and be able to talk amongst those who speak Spanish, as well as be able to help them in all the ways that I can. And the steps that I've taken is continuing the architectural route so that I know even more than I even need to know, and be able to communicate with architects, be able to understand, and even translate or be able to relay messages in the architectural language, as well as the language of Spanish and all of the things. And so those are my goals, and that's the career route that I'm going as of right now. Thank you.
The name of my business is Suave Studios, and it's a graphic design business. I make t-shirts, hoodies, blankets, masks, and mugs. The fact that I can do what I want to do, what I enjoy doing. That I can freelance and sell things that I like because I like designing. So just, sell things that I create basically.
So what kind of machinery here do you have?
This is called a Cricut, and it's basically it's like a printer. So you print out stuff on vinyl, and vinyl is basically ink, and then you use the heating press to press on the ink onto whatever you're putting it on. Been in business 2 years.
2 years?
Yes.
Okay. Is this something that you always wanted to do?
Yeah, since high school I figured that I wanted to do it. I took a class in high school and it was really fun. I was like, I might as well do this the rest of my life, and it's been working so far, so.
All right. Well, this will conclude our short interview with Charity Gibson and Suave Studios.
Here at Mount Olivet, we've also played an important role in Camden's Black history story. It was on November 13th, 1919, when a group of 8 Sabbath-keeping believers met on 1030 Linden Street in Camden to worship, pray, and study together. As they spread the word to neighbors, friends, and family, the number of believers increased, and they organized as a church called the Camden No. 2 Church. The first documented baptisms were recorded as being baptized into the Mount Olivet Seventh-day Adventist Church. As the church grew and needed more space, we moved from 1030 Linden Street to 620 Chestnut Street, and then in 1936, we moved to the top floor of a converted fire hall at 555 Chestnut Street, where our first grade school began operating under Pastor Lewis Preston. The first teacher at Mount Olivet's church school was Ernestine Long. In 1944, the church moved into 1916 to 1918 South 7th Street, where the school had enough students to be divided into 2 rooms in the basement. One room was for 1st through 4th grade, and the other room was for 5th through 8th grade. During the 70s, Mazdak owned a large school building on Atlantic Avenue, which doubled as a grade school, a recreational facility, and church storage. On Christmas Eve of 1983, we moved into our current location at the corner of 8th Street and Shelton Avenue. It's not clear whether the school was closed at around the same time as the new church opened, but it did close sometime around then, and it was revived for the last time under Pastor Frank Leggett from 1999 to 2007. We can be proud of Mount Olivet's legacy of bringing Christ-centered education to the Black children in South Jersey.
Prior to 1830, the education of all children was largely a private matter, and certainly any slave that knew how to read had been taught in secret. But in New Jersey, a series of laws were passed in the late 1700s governing the treatment of slaves, including a 1788 law that required that slaves to be taught to read and write. Those laws, however, were not enforced, and any formal education for colored people was for the most part done by churches or other faith-based institutions. In fact, Camden, which was largely settled by the Quakers, offered schooling for free Negroes in the Quakers' efforts to teach colored people how to better adapt to their free life. In 1845, there were reportedly only 974 white and 59 colored school-age children in Camden. Shortly after the first public schools were founded in 1843, it was ordered that a colored school be opened under the same regulations as the white schools, and by 1872, two schools provided for all the colored children in Camden, the Mount Vernon Colored School and the Ferry Road Colored School. In 1881, New Jersey became the first state in the United States of America to ban school segregation. But in South Jersey, which was commonly called the Mississippi of the North, a 1941 survey revealed that more than 70 school districts were still primarily segregated. Children attended schools in their neighborhoods, and neighborhoods had become more and more segregated as the 19th century drew to a close. While elementary schools in Camden were always segregated, Camden's high schools were never segregated because the population was never large enough to accommodate a white school and a school for colored people. Ironically, when industry and employment were booming in Camden, night schools were established for black students to accommodate employers who needed young workers during the day. The funding of public education through taxes meant that public education in areas that had lower taxes resulted in schools having insufficient funds for books, supplies, and even teacher salaries. But the question of integrating schools in order to achieve equality in education was complex. Camden's concerned Negro citizens raised legitimate concerns. First, they were concerned about black teachers who back then only taught black children, and integration would mean that those black teachers would lose their jobs. And also, there were parents who were concerned that a white teacher might mistreat their child and not provide them with a better education. Macedonia AME and Mount Olivet SDA both founded grade schools during this era. Schools with faith-based principles and loving teachers who taught students to dream big and bold and reached beyond the racial divisions of society. In 1946 and 1947, several hundred black children attended racially mixed schools for the first time in Camden. In 1848, legislation was passed prohibiting the dismissal of any teacher on the basis of race. The barriers were coming down. The number of black teachers in the state increased nearly by 75% in between 1943 and 1954. Then Brown v. Board of Education was decided, and unfortunately for Camden, the industrial decline which had begun a few years earlier caused a significant increase in black unemployment and white flight to the suburbs. In 1950, Camden had 124,555 residents, and by 1990, the population had decreased to less than 90,000 residents. The combined impact of the civil unrest of the 60s and the drug and crime problems of the 70s and the 80s overwhelmed the city's finances and had a negative impact on the schools in Camden. In 1997, the city of Camden had a little over 19,000 registered students in its public schools. 95% of those registered in the public schools were either black or Hispanic. Today, the number of school-aged children in public schools is closer to 6,000, and the jury is still out on the experiment of charter and magnet schools. Walt Whitman, who once lived in Camden, referred to Camden as the city invincible. In many ways, the citizens of Camden have shown a resilience which defies the conditions that plague it. There are not many high schools in the U.S. that can its large numbers of success stories, academic success, musical success, and athletic success. It is our hope that the young people who attend our church in the Centerville section of Camden will become change makers in history, always remembering that indeed it does take a village to raise a child. And here's a look at our stars of the future.
When I watch the news and see black people getting killed, it makes me feel sad and scared, not just for myself, but for all the little boys that look like me.
Psalms 51 verse 10 says, "Create in me a new heart, O Lord, and renew a steadfast spirit within me."
As we celebrate Black History Month, we are reminded of the struggles our foreparents went through for us to be here today.
Do you know who I am? I am Ruby Bridges. I was born on September 8th, 1954 in Tylertown, Mississippi. When I was 4 years old, my family moved us to New Orleans. While in New Orleans, I shared a room with my sister and 2 younger brothers. The schools were segregated. Segregation means that all white kids went to one school and all black kids went to another school. I started kindergarten from an all-black school, which I had to walk very far from home. I took a test to see if I was smart enough to attend the all-white school. Guess what? I made it. There was only 6 of us that passed, but I was the only black kid going to my school. I am Ruby Bridges, activist, first black child to integrate the white Williams France Elementary on November 14, 1960.
Thank God. Hashtag Love Thyself by Whitney Allen. It is a good read for anybody.
I'm making French toast.
Okay. What did you mix it with?
Some cinnamon, eggs, and I put the
30 seconds on the clock. Ready.
The bread in there, and then I just put it on the pan.
Okay, great.
안녕하세요. 저는 켄입니다. 그 여자 저의 선생님입니다.
안녕하세요. 카therine입니다. 메릴린 스트리클랜드 언제 태어났어요?
그녀의 생년월일은 62년 9월 25일입니다.
메릴린 스트리클랜드는 무엇으로 알려져 있나요?
메릴린 스트리클랜드는 정치가 그리고 비즈니스우먼입니다. 그녀는 워싱턴주에서 첫 아프리카계 미국인 여성 대표가 되었습니다. 또한 그녀는 하원에서 일하는 최초의 한국계 미국인 여성들 중 한 명입니다. 감사합니다.
감사합니다.
Today, I want to tell all my fellow black boys and black girls to never give up. Stand up for what is right. One day, Jesus will come and take us back to heaven with him. We will no longer be judged by the color of our skin.